Say goodbye to your credit card rewards. Big box retailers, led by Walmart and Target, are pushing for a bill in Congress to take away your hard-earned cash back and travel points to line their pockets. Senate Bill 1838 would enact harmful credit card routing mandates that would end credit card rewards as we know it. If you love your credit card rewards, visit handsoffmyrewards.com and tell them to oppose credit card routing legislation paid for by the Electronic Payments Coalition.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, you know, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Hello and welcome to our final Festive 5 podcast. With me, your host, Stephen Wallace. Today we are back with cricket with elite umpire Sue Redfern, who previously joined me in episode 95. In September 2023, Sue became the first female to umpire in a men's county championship match when Glamorgan played Derbyshire in Cardiff. In a wide-ranging podcast, you will hear Sue's reflections on that historic day for umpiring, the differences between umpiring a women's match and a men's match, the growing numbers of females taking up the role, and her thoughts on a fabulous women's Ashes, where she got to umpire matches in all three formats of the series. You will even find out about Sue's current golf handicap. I hope you have enjoyed our Festive 5. Our next episode, coming soon, will be a roundup of the 2023 flat racing year with Sam Martin, Kitty Trice and John Berry. Now it's time for Sue. Welcome back to the Paddock and the Pavilion, Sue, for one of our festive podcasts.
Thank you, Stephen. Great to be back, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. What's an elite umpire doing at the moment?
Very much trying to stay out of the bad weather. So I've not umpired since October. Just had a little bit of downtime, a bit of holiday time with the family, and just been doing a bit of winter work for the ICC and ECB, and just working on a little bit of fitness in preparation for the season starting in the new year.
So you don't get out to do the WBBL. You have done that before, haven't you?
Yeah, I had an exchange program last winter, so it was just a one-off, which is unfortunate. I'd be pretty keen to be umpiring overseas at the moment. Very much. Last year was I was very fortunate to be given that opportunity to do the Women's Big Bash.
Well, let's get these two people that I spoke to off air who wanted to say hi. Although actually one of them didn't, but I'm going to include her because both of these two. I say two. Tina Goff, I was in contact with today, and she wanted to say hi to you.
Hi back. So, is she in Germany or is she?
Yeah, I think she's in Germany at the moment.
Yep.
She has been playing a bit of football, but I think she's
fabulous.
So she likes football as well. And Tina and Catherine, the Catherine Leng, who made her international debut with you.
Yep.
Catherine doesn't know about the fact I'm going to bring her up here, but the two of them regularly sort of come on the podcast to talk about England's Test series and international series in the women's game, and they've done that with the Ashes most recently.
Fabulous.
Well, let's start by talking about 2023. I wrote down all the different competitions, and you'll probably add even more here. And you did the T20 World Cup in South Africa. You did some games in the Rachel Hayhoe Flint Trophy. You did the Charlotte Edwards Cup, including the final, the 100, England Women's One Day Internationals. You did a Test match, ODI and T20s in the Ashes. You did 2 T20 Blast games, a county championship game, and also some men's second 11. You're probably going to tell me you did others as well.
One Day Cup, I don't. Yeah, kind of like you've probably covered them all there, Stephen. It just goes to show how many different sets of regulations. Really, that it's just giving me a hot flush, to be honest, with all those regulations, the thoughts of all the different preparations. So quite a lot of different cricket there.
Yeah, it must be. You must have to learn a lot of different things to do all those different games.
Yeah, so very similar to when I was umpiring in the recreational game. Umpires, even though we've got laws of cricket, they often change depending on the competitions. So each game you have to do that prep for the regulations. So kind of like there's just those minor changes, differences, and rightly so. The players expect us to know those differences and those subtleties, really.
And test matches. That must be quite different from doing a 20-over match and a 50-over match.
Yeah, interestingly, I find it a little bit less tiring on a day-to-day basis than maybe a one-day game. With a one-day game, you've got 50 overs, so you've got about 3.5 hours each session before you have a break. Whereas in Test match cricket, generally you've got 2 hours a break, 2 hours a break. So I suppose for me, moving into the professional umpire team last year meant that I was able to do more multi-day cricket. So obviously the preparation for those test matches slightly more prepared in terms of familiarization with kind of like test match multi-day games, more familiarity and more comfort with the processes involved in that. So yeah, it's been really good to be a professional umpire and be able to focus on that and get more experience, certainly in the multi-day games.
On the subject of the test match, which was England-Australia in the Women's Ashes.
Yeah.
I know you're not playing, but it was very exciting watching. I went to the test match at Trent Bridge for the first day and the third day. How much of a thrill was it to be actually out in the middle?
Yeah, umpiring any game, any professional game of cricket is, I'm incredibly humbled. And, for me, particularly around the women's game, where that's my main passion, I grew up in women's cricket and, I want to see change. I want to see the women recognised for the talented athletes they are. So, for me to see them competing in that environment with that coverage and with those skill sets to excellent teams, really pitching it out for a high-profile competitive series. You feel incredibly lucky that you've got the best seat in the house, that you're watching the game, and obviously, the pressure. I suppose it's an internalized pressure that you don't want to make an error because you want the game to flow, because you want the game to be a good game of cricket. So it was a real privilege to watch some amazing performances in that match in particular, that Test match. You've got your Tammy Beaumont, Danny Wyatt batting, Elise Perry batting. You've then got Gardner bowling. You've got there just a couple of examples in that game where there was some incredibly high skill sets on offer, really.
And over 5 days.
Yes. So, for me personally, that was great because I've been involved in the 2 previous test matches with India and South Africa over here in England. And, obviously that was curtailed. Those games were 4-day games, curtailed, unfortunately, with a little bit of rain. So to actually see a test match out, knowing pretty much with the weather forecast and it being a 5-day game, that there's likely to be a result. So again, just making sure that you're doing the best you can. I'm doing the best I can to obviously make the correct decisions where I can. And
you hope there'll be a revival of the format. Both Catherine Leng and Tina love Test cricket. Yeah, I don't make any. I don't hide the fact that for me, I'm very much a traditionalist. I love Test cricket. I have been very fortunate in my playing days to have played in Test cricket, and I believe it's a real test of your skills. The longevity of that, being able to judge when to push, when not to push. To look at the bigger picture context and to be patient in periods of play. It's a really exciting format.
format, and I'm incredibly frustrated for the players that they don't get the chance to play that as often. Whilst on the flip side, Stephen, I recognise that for women's cricket and for commercial reasons to develop it, there's a place for the 100 and there's a place for T20 cricket. I understand the reasons and the pressures that brings and the cost of cricket. But from a purely love, passion for the game, Test cricket is definitely the hardest skill set in terms of a player's test, really.
The crowds for the Ashes were amazing as well, playing on the Test grounds.
Yeah, just again a real buzz around the grounds, and the numbers as well as the appreciation from the crowd. So it was a knowledgeable. You get a feel. I don't know if I can explain it, but you get a feel when you're on the field that the spectators are into the game and they understand the game, and they're just really excited and really supportive, which must be a buzz for the players involved in that. So for me personally, I've been very fortunate. I've been umpiring in front of crowds. It presents different challenges for umpires, I suppose, just in terms of not being able to hear as much as what you normally can without a crowd. But brilliant to see for the women, brilliant to see for Test match cricket and all games, to be honest.
Let's move on to the 26th of September 2023, Glamorgan against Derbyshire, when you became the first female to umpire a county championship match, the first of many, I hope. How significant was that for you and for umpiring?
Yeah, it's a little bit. I'm going to give you two answers here, Stephen, I suppose. For me personally, on my personal drive for where I want to be in officiating, it was an important step for me, just in terms of that was an era of cricket I hadn't been involved in, and it was a real privilege to be part of that. I've worked hard to do the multi-day cricket and to be recognised in men's cricket. I don't see it. I think the perception, there was a lot of noise around it. Just in terms of me doing that and being the first female, and it was important that other females and other players and other people see females involved in that environment, because it just shows that you don't have to have played that particular game to be part of an officiating team. So it was an important step, but it was quite interesting just in terms of relating it back to women's cricket. People were saying, "Oh, it's the biggest game of your life," and I like to call it more of it was a different environment. It was a new environment for me. It wasn't any better or any worse than where I've been in women's cricket, and to some extent, it's a bit bizarre that I've been a TV umpire in a Women's World Cup final, and yet some people perceive a men's county championship game in domestic professional cricket in England being higher level. Which I just consider it to be a different environment, and that's for me that's a really important message that not either game wasn't as important. It was just about different environments and testing my skills and different skill sets in different environments.
How did the game go for you? There was lots of runs scored.
Yeah, it would be fair to say it was a difficult track for the bowlers. We had a bit of weather intervention. The game, the intensity of the game was slightly different probably to some of the other games. There wasn't a huge amount on the game for the teams because the championship was coming towards an end and they were kind of like mid-table. But fundamentally, I think the game went really well for me personally. Really enjoyed standing with my colleague, and it was good learning. There was some good learning there in terms of just a little bit more experience in multi-day cricket and the environment as well. So it's always I think I'm known quite well in women's cricket, but for some of the male players, I'm less well known, and it's important that I continue to build those relationships and learn a little bit more about the style of play in that environment, if that makes sense. Did you have to make many decisions? I think I did. I think I made a fair few over the 4 days. So, pretty happy with that performance. A few LBWs to make. You had done a couple of T20 Blast games earlier in the season. Yep. Yep. And again, very much a different environment. I'd been TV umpire the previous year for the Blast, and I did a couple of games as TV umpire this year for the Blast. But being on field, again, I felt, if I'm being honest, on the first game, felt a little bit nervous. Again, there was a little bit of hype leading up to the game, being the first female, again, in that environment. But felt much more comfortable in the second game at Trent Bridge. And just really enjoyed that. It's just, I can't describe it. Umpiring is, with the exception of playing, umpiring is the best seat in the house, really, just to see some great cricket take place and some talented players. Kind of like it's just a really enjoyable experience.
And I was listening to our previous chat, and it all stems from your dad, who was an umpire.
Yeah, so Dad umpired the local leagues in Nottingham, where I grew up. He'd been a bit of a player before that. He played second 11 Notts cricket, kind of like, I suppose in a way I was looking for something to do in cricket after playing, it just seemed logical. Dad had given it a go. I spoke to him, and kind of like just took it up from there, really. And I'm very lucky that I did that. I feel incredibly lucky to be given the opportunity to be a professional umpire.
Now you're on the elite panel. Do you know your games for next year yet, or is that too soon?
Yeah, so professional umpire panel here in England. We're responsible as a group of umpires who are contracted with ECB. We're responsible for the women's and the men's professional game. So we officiate in those environments. All of what you mentioned earlier, those competitions are all covered. We won't get to find out, even though the fixtures have been released. It's a little bit too early for us to know what we'll be doing next season. Looking for a blend of men's and women's cricket for me. Different formats, T20, 100, 4-day formats. Don't know at this point, may find out probably in February time. So we're very much, we work in blocks of like 7 weeks. So we'll get 7 weeks worth of appointments, and then we'll get the next block of 7 weeks depending on availability and depending on performance. So it's very much cutthroat selection, not selection, and based on your performances leading into each game, really.
So do you consider yourself, though, a trailblazer for hopefully more women's umpires officiating at the highest level in both men's and women's cricket to eventually do men's test matches? There's no reason why a woman can't do that.
Yeah, that's right. Do I consider myself to be a trailblazer? Well, I'm very lucky. I've been put in this position, and I've worked really hard on my officiating skills to be put in this position. And I'm incredibly grateful I'm being given these opportunities to really kind of like be a professional umpire. I think it's really important. We can't be what we can't see. Visibility is absolutely important, and I know that. Females and other people who haven't traditionally seen officiating as an opportunity for them, by seeing myself and other people who are similar to themselves, it opens up those pathways. So it is important, and we'll continue to hopefully challenge those stereotypes in terms of what people perceive different roles to be within cricket. And it is important that we show that it's an inclusive sport, and you can do any role you want. Obviously, you've got to work at that and have the skills to do that, but it shouldn't be a barrier regardless of what gender you are or what your background is. If you're good enough and you're capable enough, then you should progress onto that and be given that opportunity. I think a recent example of showing a female in the male environment is Jackie Williams of the West Indies. Has recently done the T20 men's international, West Indies versus England men, on field. And again, Kim Cotton this year made her debut on field with the New Zealand men's internationals as well. Absolutely, if she's good enough, if females are good enough, there's absolutely no reason, there's genuinely no reason why women can't umpire in men's environments, just as men have been umpiring in women's environments. There's no reason for that if the skills are good enough.
Say goodbye to your credit card rewards. Big box retailers, led by Walmart and Target, are pushing for a bill in Congress to take away your hard-earned cash back and travel points to line their pockets. Senate Bill 1838 would enact harmful credit card routing mandates that would end credit card rewards as we know it. If you love your credit card rewards, visit handsoffmyrewards.com and tell them to oppose credit card routing legislation paid for by the Electronic Payments Coalition.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on chumbacasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at chumbacasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's chumbacasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Are you seeing more and more young female umpires starting on the road as well?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really exciting that certainly within England, there's increasing pathways you see internationally as well. New females coming on board and giving it a go. And that's really exciting. And it's really exciting to be part of ECB's and ICC's tutor workforce as well. So we're developing new umpires and developing tutors to support new umpires as well. So it's great to see females coming on board in that. I'd like to see more females take more leadership roles. There are some great female role models out there in terms of officiating, and it'd be really great to see them leading and driving the development of new young umpires as well.
You're confident then that we will see more female umpires? I feel reluctant to keep saying female umpires because it's umpiring. It's to an extent the media that keep saying that Sue Redfern is the first female, but we're really talking about umpiring here.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I'd be really keen to kind of ultimately, I'm hopefully just judged on being an umpire, not being a female umpire, and that's what it should be about. There should be appointments based on your skills and your abilities, not your gender. And the day which we see that happening and continue to happen is a positive day. So, I've spoke previously about men's and women's cricket. Men's cricket, slightly different skill sets required as an umpire, slightly different way the game is played. Women's cricket, slightly different skill sets required as an umpire in terms of the game is played slightly differently. So there are different things that can trip you up as an umpire and you have to be aware of.
What are some of those differences?
Yeah, just simple things. Because of the weight of the ball, in women's cricket, because of the speed and the weight of the ball, there's a tendency for there to be more lateral movement, sideways movement. So obviously when judging LBWs, it's slightly different. Obviously there's more bounce in the men's game. There are different noises and there are generally different shots which are being played as well. So the women like to generate a lot of their strength from playing across the ball. So sweeping and reverse sweeping quite a lot, which means they're playing across their crease quite a lot more, which means you've got the LBWs in play. So the noises are slightly different in men's cricket because the ball is a little bit faster. They're a little bit sharper in terms of the noises, and the differential between bat and pad is slightly different. So, just subtle things like that, which makes it slightly different to umpire in men's and women's cricket, which isn't, you've got to adapt if you move in between the two.
You're also very often doing the TV role. Are there any more developments coming along the line with DRS? Cricket seems to get it right so much better than, dare I say, football with VAR.
Yeah, I think, obviously I'm not involved in football VAR, but certainly, from a cricket perspective, we've used technology now for quite a long time, considerably longer, I think, than football. And I think, we like everything really, like laws, regulations, you learn by something going wrong or something not quite going right. You make those changes and you adapt as you move forward. You adapt for the basis of the game. And, just very recently, I know that ICC have made a couple of changes to their playing regulations for TV umpiring, and they're all in response to how the game is played and what's happened on field. And the key for me as a TV umpire and working in DRS is to stay relevant, to stay up to date with those changes and those protocols, to make sure that I'm as ready as possible to make the best decision I can make with good clarity and good communication. We talk a lot in TV umpiring about getting the decision right as best as possible, doing it in a timely way, and also whilst we're doing it, communicating in a way where we educate people about the reasons why we're making the decisions we make. So they're the three things which we focus on in terms of TV umpiring to make that better.
I think from a spectator, both on the television and when you're at the game, cricket's very good at when a decision is being relayed to the crowd, that we are informed. We do know what's going on.
Yeah, and that's part of the perception of a decision, is about selling that decision and being really clear about the reasons why you're making that. And I think television umpiring is, in some ways, it's more pressured than on-field umpiring, because there's an expectation that you get every single decision correct, because you have time to do it. You've got video footage you can replay, and at the end of the day, television umpiring is like umpiring, where it's your own interpretation sometimes on what you're looking, and your own understanding of the laws in terms of interpreting what you're seeing in that footage. So yeah, it's important that we communicate that and we educate people whilst we're doing that in terms of what we're looking for and the reasons why we're making those decisions.
When we last spoke, the 100 had only just had its first season.
Wow, yeah.
I must confess, I have watched quite a few 100 games, and I've been to all the three finals. How have you found the competition develop over the 3 years?
Yeah, it's, I talked earlier about Test match cricket being amazing. My truest form of the game. It's my most enjoyable format of the game. But the 100, there's an excitement, isn't there? There's an excitement around the crowd, about the game. We know statistically that if you shorten a game of cricket, it's going to get closer between two teams. Whereas if obviously if there's a massive skills gap, the likelihood is the team with the greater skills are going to come out in longer format cricket. So T20, 100 and T20 brings everything so much closer. But with that 100, it's a little bit funky. It's done differently. It's got all the razzmatazz. For an umpire perspective, you've got a couple of different processes that you need to bring on board. So that preparation leading into that month of the 100 is really important, to make sure that we're really clear about how we're delivering as a team and how we're actually umpiring as a team as well. So we're consistent as possible.
Watching the game, I think it's the crowd have really got involved now. They seem, especially with the young and the families that are going to the games.
Yeah, it's great, and it's great to see the kids cheering on the women's teams and the men's teams, and it's great to see that mix of kind of like different population just really enjoying it and getting on board with those teams, kind of like really creating a fun day out. And as an umpire, you can't help, if you've got a crowd there that are really enjoying it, kind of like in some ways you raise your game, don't you, in terms of just like the players. Really, we're in the entertainment business in some ways.
I started off asking you what you were doing in the winter. I picked up on our last podcast. I must ask you, is the golf handicap, has it gone up or down? It was 14 when I last spoke to you.
Yeah, good memory, Stephen. Good memory. So the golf handicap, not that I've managed to play much golf recently with the weather, but the golf handicap's definitely going in the right direction. So it's going down to single figures at the moment. So I'm just on the border of single figures, which is a bit of a mini ambition to try and get to there for me personally. So I recently had a club update, so I've got some new clubs. So hitting them. Hit and miss at the moment, it would be fair to say, but the guy who obviously fitted me for the clubs, he did tell me I had a very interesting action. So I'm sure that there'll be a limit to my golf, but even so, it's a good way to switch off and just step away from cricket for a bit and play a different sport. So it's good fun. Thanks.
Well, congratulations on the handicap going down. My last question is, does umpiring beat playing, or would playing still be the favourite?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I've been very lucky to play and umpire at the highest levels. So for me, I only wish. When I look back at my playing days, I really fully appreciated how special those playing days were. In terms of it all happened very quick. I was very young. And does it beat playing? Being honest, kind of like, I'm cricket through and through. There's nothing like the feel of playing, but it comes a very, very close second behind that playing in terms of officiating. One thing I try and remember, kind of like as a player, it was quite frustrating sometimes if maybe umpiring decisions didn't go your way, or you felt that the umpire hadn't applied a regulation correctly. And something that always sat with me when I took up umpiring is I wanted to make sure, where possible, I know my regulations, I know my laws, and I let the game flow as a player would want. So I do try and look at it from a player's perspective, and that's how I want to umpire. I want players to enjoy the game. I want players to play it fairly and be treated with respect, really. So, kind of like it's an opportunity for me to see it from a different perspective. But I definitely recommend to any budding umpire who's playing, play as long as you can or as long as you want to, and keep enjoying it. And once you stop enjoying it, then maybe that's time for something different. But yeah, playing is definitely still right up there.
Well, thank you very much, Sue, for joining me again on the Paddock and the Pavilion. I'm sure you've got a very busy year ahead of you in 2024. The very best of luck for that. You've got another World Cup as well, haven't you, in 2024?
Pending selection. I mean, Obviously, just take each game as it comes, and the rest will be decided by other people. I've just got to focus game by game. So whatever's put in front of me is the most important thing.
A Merry Christmas to you and a Happy New Year.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Take care. Merry Christmas.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.